Welcome back to the Outside Shot. Fionn Murray, joined by Conall Diggin and Donald Thomson. I had to fade out that song there just because we want to get as much time to have this conversation as we can. So, yeah, this is the conversation that not really the one that any of us particularly want to have. I wish that the All-Star break hadn't been like pretty much defined by Israeli interference, but it kind of was for most NBA fans, certainly from what I'm seeing online. I think I should just start by saying, like, certainly I'm speaking under the understanding that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, as has been concluded by the United Nations. If that's not something you agree with, this is probably not a conversation you'll find much value in. I would very strongly advise you read the United Nations Commission of Inquiry report on the humanitarian crisis happening in Palestine. But yeah, if that's not something you agree with, maybe now is the time to tune out. That's the lens, at least, I'll be approaching this conversation with. So, you have been warned.
Yeah. I disagree. No, I do not disagree at all. No.
It's just important to say that because I know the climate around these kind of conversations is quite different here in Ireland than it would be in most in the United States, where most of these conversations are happening. So I think we have to clarify that that's where we're coming at this from. We'll start by just talking about Deni Avdia and the representation of him as an All-Star. Like, I think he absolutely did deserve to be an NBA All-Star, for sure. Just the way it was portrayed, I did take issue with.
Yeah.
A personal congratulations from Benjamin Netanyahu.
Who I do imagine Netanyahu is someone who history will not look kindly upon.
No.
I always find this weird because I was thinking about this today and I was like, oh, it's like he's getting all these congratulations, and you obviously have all the, like, you will talk about it obviously with the LeBron stuff, but you have Israeli media going there and basically asking them to praise Deni Avdia. And I was thinking about this and I was like, if there was an Irish player in the All-Star game, do you think they would do that? And my answer was they probably would. Like, they probably would go to the All-Star game and be like, oh, do you think Colm O'Sullivan is a good basketball player? And they would be like, yeah, absolutely. And then you'd be like, would you ever go to Ireland? He'd probably be like, yeah, I would. The obvious caveat there is the fact that if you're saying you're going to go, the difference between saying, oh yeah, I would love to go to Ireland and I'd love to go to, I heard there's stuff going on in Israel and I would love to go there, is completely different, which I fully understand. But I do think, like, if if Micheál Martin came out and was like, congratulations to Colm O'Sullivan for making the All-Star game, like, you have to put into a small bit of context that this is like a big moment for their nation. It's the first ever All-Star, but it's also the fact that it is this nation, and the things he has done and the things they are doing is absolutely deplorable to the same extent. And like the likelihood that Colm O'Sullivan has done anything close to what Deni Avdia has done, is also. But I do think it's important. Like, that was just something I thought about. Like, obviously I fully agree with basically whatever you're going to say. I'm going to fully agree with it, but I'm just trying to think about it from an Irish perspective, where you're like, we would do the same thing. It's just a completely different context and what they're doing it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, like for LeBron to say, oh, I've heard great things.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that is crazy.
Hundreds of thousands dead.
If we're going to move on to the LeBron thing, I feel like we may as well let those of you who haven't heard that quote hear it. So this was LeBron asked by an Israeli reporter his thoughts on Deni Avdia and any message to his Israeli fans. He's never heard any bad things.
He gives you hope for a split second, because he's like, encourage him to be great in sports and better as people.
And you're like, oh. And then he goes, yeah, but I've heard only great things. And it's crazy as well, because this is the second time LeBron has done something like this with the whole Hong Kong situation.
I was going to bring that
up.
And
it is like a case of LeBron is, if something happens in America, he's usually forthright about it, and he's like, we all need to be better. We need to be better. Everything like that. And that's commendable. That's exactly what you should do, especially when you have as big a following and as big a voice as LeBron James has. But then the minute it could affect your brand and your image around the world, that's when he just completely shuts off, and that's the problem.
For those without a bit of context to the Hong Kong stuff, during the Hong Kong protests of 2019, I believe.
think,
Yeah. Daryl Morey, then the Houston Rockets general manager.
Who, bear in mind, the Rockets at that time, the biggest team in China, because obviously they had Yao Ming before.
Exactly. Daryl Morey tweeted out support for the protests, for the protesters in Hong Kong. And since then, basically the NBA's relationship with China has been forever altered. Daryl Morey was forced to delete the tweet. The NBA sent out apologies. LeBron called the tweet misinformed and irresponsible, and basically showed no support or sympathy for the people of Hong Kong protesting against what is, as many commissions can attest, an authoritarian process and suppression of protesters. So, yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit like there's two LeBrons in terms of his reaction on social justice. That like there's LeBron in America and how like pro police reform he was in 2020 in the bubble, versus LeBron outside of the United States.
Because it's good for his image to support. It's just what is good for his image, essentially. And he's unwilling to sacrifice even a cent of what he could possibly earn. Like,
it would be one thing if he just didn't say anything ever. If he basically Michael Jordaned it, where he just doesn't say anything ever, and you're just like, well, I didn't expect him to say anything because, you know, it's Michael Jordan. I don't expect Michael Jordan to come out about this. But it's the fact that he does make such a big deal when he does speak out about something, that when he doesn't, it's like, well, you can't have it both ways. But apparently he can.
Like, I don't necessarily agree with silence. Like, I still think if you're silent, you are complicit in the issue. But silence is better than
double standards.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that's the issue with some of LeBron's contemporaries. Stephen Curry, who has a series of investments in Israeli intelligence, was also named in 2023 the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar Social Justice Champion of the NBA.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was also that one of the things in the article you sent me was like, he was basically marked as someone that they needed to target to have an effect, that he would be someone who's influential enough to get Americans to be American churchgoers who would be fed. Like, if he basically told them something, they would be more likely to believe it because he's such an influential person.
Yeah, Steph Curry comes from a very evangelical Christian family, and it was him and Chris Pratt were singled out by an Israeli public action committee, a private equity group that could basically fund propaganda. Stephen Curry was indicated to be one who, I mean, there's this weird symbiotic link between Israel and evangelic Christian stuff in the States, and Steph was kind of indicated as someone who could make a difference there, and he has invested some of his money from his venture capitalist group, something Penny.
The Penny Jar Capital.
Penny Jar Capital, yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. Wasn't particularly happy to hear that came out a couple of weeks ago. But Steph Curry, and then everything that
he's in the similar situation with LeBron with the whole double standard thing.
Yeah,
where,
exactly.
You know, like it was pointed out in that article where he's like, you know, he supports Democrats. He was with he supports things with the Obamas, everything like that. But then it's like the minute again, it has nothing to do with what's going on at home. It's, you know, complete silence. Oh yeah, if it makes me money, so what?
Yeah. Kevin Durant, another one over the we don't need to get into the whole KD files stuff. I don't know if we have time to fully interrogate whatever's going on there.
They are somewhat linked though, because he's invested in Skydio technology company, used drones used for mass surveillance of citizens in Gaza and deployed in major US cities. But in the KD files, like these leaked DMs from his supposed burners, there was one message that was sent in.
Yeah.
It was like somebody sent him a tweet of KD actively funding like the killing of children in Gaza, and he basically replied saying like, what is it? If they need drones, I'll build them.
Yeah,
or something like that.
If they want drones, we got them, I think.
That's it.
That's the first I'm ever hearing it. That's crazy.
Yeah. Now, this is allegedly his burner. We don't...
Yeah, this is all... Yeah.
This is all alleged, so that's why I didn't know quite how to approach this, but there's circumstantial evidence as to Kevin Durant having a burner on Twitter, an account that isn't clearly his, for those unfamiliar with the nomenclature, but like, yeah, it's kind of unclear at the moment. He said some pretty awful things about his teammates, former teammates and current teammates, allegedly, if it was him, this account said some pretty awful things about current teammates, but also, talked about his investment in Skydio, which is, pretty awful.
The NBA is in quite a weird spot at the moment where, at least from a public relations standpoint, obviously they have all this stuff going on, but you also have, like the next big star in the NBA is Victor Wembanyama, and he is very clearly like an incredibly smart person. What is he, 19 or 20 years old right now? Incredibly smart person, and he has clearly known what's going on, but he also knows that he can't say anything about it, but he knows, like, he's also not going to do what LeBron did, where he's like, oh, I heard great things are going on there, because he knows what's going on there. He knows exactly what's going on.
He said around the Minneapolis stuff.
Yeah, around the Minneapolis stuff, he was told by the social team the PR team not to say anything. He was like, no, I'm going to say stuff because it's the right thing to do.
And then if you look back at Dwight Howard in 2014, when he tweeted hashtag Free Palestine 2014.
Wow.
And then deleted the tweet soon after, and then tweeted, previous tweet was a mistake. I've never commented on international politics and never will. And he claims that he was called by the league to delete the tweet.
That very much sounds
the league
like...
has denied this, but like that tweet along with...
It's the second tweet that does it more for me, where it's literally like, that's the most PR statement.
Well, Spike Lee just did something very similar. He was at the NBA All-Star game with it was just a strap with Palestinian flags on it.
Yeah.
And then put out a statement 14, 15 hours ago saying it wasn't meant to talk anything about Denny Avdia or the wonderful people of Israel. He was supporting Palestine. I don't know. There's so much at work behind the scenes here that we don't know about, we can't see, but there's just so many vested interests in that military industrial PR machine that is the Israeli-US relationship. And I don't know, we can't claim to fully understand it. We can just call it out when we see it. And we saw it a lot this weekend.
Yeah. Nobody will be sanctioned for anything they say about Israel the way that people will be about Palestine.
Nobody.
There is not there's a certain level of freedom of speech in the NBA that is not tolerated.
Yeah.
And it's only in relation to that, just because of the vested interest of Israel in America and vice versa.
Well, we mentioned Kyrie Irving there. Kyrie Irving is the one NBA player who has been vocal about pro-Palestinian statements. He was sitting courtside with a press t-shirt, which is indicated towards the 300 plus journalists who have been killed by the Israeli Defense Forces during the genocide in Gaza, and he was making comment or clearly passively showing his support and solidarity with the journalists of Palestine. And he's tweeted pictures of murdered Palestinian children. I really respect Kyrie Irving's willingness to be one of the few people who speaks truth to power here.
Yeah, he wears a lot of clothing by a brand called Wear the Peace. So yeah, every purchase, they claim in their Twitter bio that every purchase aids humans in needs, and they've donated millions to human causes, and so they have a lot of Palestine themed clothing. So yeah, that's his kind of his protest.
Yeah. I don't know. There's no easy way to end the show or to end this segment. It's an unfortunate thing that this has to be a conversation we have as people who just want to talk about sports, but it's impossible to not have this, and I think we would be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't. So hopefully you've learned something from this, from our conversation here. I hope that we don't need to keep talking about this, because ultimately I hate the conversation where sports and politics should be kept separate, because they never will be. In an ideal world, we wouldn't need to talk about politics in sport, but that doesn't mean that we don't call it out when it's there.
The best way. It's Denny Avdia should be allowed to play in the NBA, but so long as that's not coming at the cost of some child who's growing up in Palestine who dreams of being an NBA player and may never get to do that because of what Denny Avdia's nation is doing to their nation.
100%.
That's basically what it's come down to.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of ending it. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you, Conall and Donald, for joining us.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you next week.